Hi, I'm Kevin Harrington,
I'm Samba Bachili.
Nina Vaca, Chief Executive Officer of Pinnacle Group.
an original shark from the hit TV show Shark Tank.
CEO of ADS Group.
The largest Latina-owned workforce solutions in America.
I first identified myself as an entrepreneur when I was 15 years old.
My mother and father immigrated here with a suitcase and a dream. I had a front row seat to entrepreneurship. I am living proof of what is possible in this country.
Today, the marketplace is very tough.
The challenge for African market today is its access to capital.
The number one reason why we can't scale as entrepreneurs is access to capital.
What makes Glow so different and so powerful is the access to experts, gurus, mentors, coaches, financiers, venture people, money.
When I started my business, I immediately went to engage with different communities, different platforms. Glow makes that experience digital. A digital platform makes it so much faster and so much easier for you to meet like-minded people.
The financial platform that Glow have that make Glow unique.
Glow is about commerce, Glow is about community, and Glow is about having access to capital.
Glow is an asset to every entrepreneur in this country and globally.
It's about helping you take your business, your idea to the next step.
Hi there, and welcome to Business Acceleration 2.0. It's the show where leaders go to grow. My name is Michelle Lemons-Pacenti. I'm the CEO and founder of the Global Leaders Organization, or GLOW as we like to call it. GLOW is actually the sponsor for this event today, bringing you the content that's very valuable content for entrepreneurs, and I'm excited to bring it to you. Before we go there, just a little bit of housekeeping for you guys. If you're watching for the first time and you're curious as to what GLOW is a membership organization that was made for you, the entrepreneur. It helps you to build your community of network of other business decision makers. It helps you find a marketplace so that you can sell and promote your company's services or products. And most importantly, what really differentiates GLOW from all the other CEO organizations is that it has a capital component, a whole capital platform. We've got training that if you wanted to go out and raise capital, we take you through the training and what you need to do and be prepared for. We've got different types of capital, debt or equity, and we help you access that capital. So if you're an entrepreneur looking to build and grow your business, come on board and join GLOW. It's the fastest growing entrepreneurial organization that exists today on this planet. So look forward to seeing you on board. And without further ado, now we're going to go ahead and move over to the content while you're here. So Mr. Marc Schwartz, who is a longtime friend of mine. He's a business consultant for over 30 years. He's been working with small to medium-sized businesses literally for the last 30 years, and he's a best-selling author. I love his mission, so I want to read his mission to you because I think this is perfect for GLOW members. His mission is to help small and medium businesses evolve to their next level of natural growth. We're going to understand from Marc what that really means from him. But before we go to that mission statement, we're going to learn what he's here to talk to us about today, which is ERC. So Marc, welcome, and thank you for being here today.
Hi, Michelle. Glad to be here. And since I've been watching GLOW for some years, this is a delight. Thank you.
Yeah, we're excited to have you on board. Okay. When you and I spoke and you were telling me about ERC, I went, Marc, every entrepreneur, business owner needs to know about this. Give the definition of what ERC is and the background behind it. And then I've got a whole set of questions to ask you about it.
Perfect. Michelle, ERC is Employer Retention Credit or Employee Retention Credit. And basically, we look at what's happened over the last 2.5 years, and COVID threw a monkey wrench into the business works worldwide. And here in the US, there were strategies and stimulus that were there to help in some cases, like the PPP, the Paycheck Protection Plan, when we were about maybe a year into or less than a year into COVID. And that really did help entrepreneurs stay afloat, to pay their employees, not lose or not to retain their employees. So that's good, except that money ran out. And then something came along called ERC. And it was passed, the Biden administration put it into place before last November of 21. And then about November of last year, 21, they amended it to make it a more liberal stimulus program. And basically what it is, ERC is in place to help reward those that carried employees through COVID. And so if you have less than 500 employees or more than one W-2 employee, somewhere between in that range, then you could potentially qualify for hundreds of thousands, maybe even in some cases, millions of dollars of stimulus funds. And it can be as much as up to $26,000 per employee that you have retained throughout these last 2.5 to 3 years. So it's a great place to, especially those that are struggling. Maybe they have been slow to come back from COVID. Maybe they even went out of business. In some cases, we've had clients who came to us and we helped them to get money, even though they're out of business and they're trying to regroup again. So there's all kinds of opportunities for those who have a small business between, again, 1 and 500.
Okay, so here's the big question I'm sure everybody's going to start with. What if I took PPP money? Am I still eligible for getting involved with the ERC?
Absolutely. And that's where a lot of people ended up. They self-selected themselves out last year and said, well, I got PPP money, so I can't get this. And that's not true. Here's what happens. This is totally different. And what happens if, when we start to go into the algorithm of revenues, gross receipts, et cetera, what you can't do is take your PPP money and add that to it. So you've got to sort of subtract that out, take existing righteous homogeneous funds that came through during those years, and that's the only thing that PPP doesn't apply to. We just gotta basically figure it out.
Okay, so wait, you said one employee, W-2. So you could be you could be a solo entrepreneur running a business where you referred yourself as a W-2 employee and get this, right?
You could, and here's the kicker. Here's the strategy that's in place, the rules that are in place. Any business owner that is 51% owner in that business is then not eligible. If they own 50% or below of that organization, of that company, then they are considered eligible. As well as if they own less than 50% and they have family members on, then those family members then too would be eligible. If they're over 50%, they're 51, then those family members would not be. So the goal here is anybody who has a majority ownership of 51% or more, they probably won't be eligible. But a lot of the ones that we've written have been, if they had even 3 or 4 employees, we just couldn't figure in the owner, but we got the other employees to figure in the algorithm.
Okay, got it. Okay, so what happens if our revenue went up in 2020? Would we still qualify for the ERC?
Great question. And absolutely, this is where some people have self-selected out, as well as in some cases, and I'm not disparaging accountants or CPAs, that's not the point. But sometimes they misunderstood the program, and it did change last year. But if you in fact had increased revenues, well, that could disqualify you on one of the 3 qualifiers. The other 2 is business disruption, and the third one is supply chain interruption or supply chain issues. So even if you had increased revenues, you still might qualify for additional ERC funds based on those additional 2 categories.
Okay, so I know when everyone was rushing to go and get the PPP in, they were really concerned that funds were going to run out, and they did run out, right, at one point. What about ERC? When does it run out of funds?
Michelle, that's why we're on board. Basically, the U.S. government isn't a great marketer, And even though the funds have been available since last year, late Q3 and 4 of last year, there's been very few people that have taken advantage of it. By ERC's estimate, there's a company called ERC Specialists. By their estimate, they said only about 13% of the population knows anything about this stimulus program. And so there's $400 billion earmarked that won't go away, that's sitting there, that has to be spent, and it will be spent. So until that money's gone, which right now I think they're at about 20 billion, they got a long way to go. And that's why we want to let as many independent entrepreneurs and small business owners know about this, because the money's there and it's going somewhere.
Okay. All right. What about there were requirements set up with the PPP about repaying. Do you have to repay the ERC?
That is an absolute fundamental question, and the answer is simply no. It is not a payback program. Once the funds have been let, you can use it however you want to, and there's no requirement. You don't have to necessarily do it only for payroll. It can go to fund growth strategies. It can, however you want to do it, and there is no concern about repayment.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go back to where you were talking about if we can show that, one, we had supply chain issues. How do we prove that? What do we need to do?
Well, what happens is, and my suggestion to make this go simple, fast, and easy, and we can know in 35 to 40 minutes if you qualify, if your organization qualifies, is we get whoever is interested, get on my schedule. We do a 40-minute walkthrough. There's questions on a website. It's called, again, ERC Specialists. They're the ones that are doing the biggest share of sharing these funds out. And they've built, again, a website and a set of questions. So we go on the website, we look to see what your gross receipts are, your W-2 employees, how many you had, we fill in the blanks. And then at some point, it gives us an idea of how much you'll be available to you. And from there, then we take that information, submit it to ERC, who does further due diligence, about 180 pages of paperwork. And then at some point, it goes on to the Treasury Department and ultimately the IRS, who issues the check. So it can take anywhere from, once we get online, we answer those questions, it's 40 minutes, you'll know pretty close to how much as well. And then basically you go and work with ERC Specialists to upload their portal 941s and some gross per quarter revenue numbers.
Okay, so I know when filling out the PPP, some of it was very confusing. So you're saying that you and your team would end up working with the business owner, walking them through and help guiding them and helping them to answer the questions, filling out the form, correct?
Absolutely, and especially when we get to supply chain interruption issues, there's about 10 questions there, and we've learned how to really optimize this. So, if somebody goes and tries to do this on their own, okay, good luck. That's fine. They can do it if you really want to, but let somebody who's been through this help you, because a lot of times what we saw is we've been able to go back and increase 20 to 30% the amount of money an individual or a company got back just by answering the questions in a more legitimate and optimized manner. So yes, there, especially around supply chain, because it's not always easy. Things like, if you were a janitorial service, could you get cleaning supplies? Well, no, there was an interruption in that. If you're a builder, could you get supplies like trim wood? Could you get doors and hardware? Those kinds of things need to be taken in consideration, and they can ultimately really up the amount of money that ERC or the IRS will fund you back on this program.
Okay, then the big question, how much do you charge?
Thank you. Ultimately, yes, everybody wants to know. And here's the cool thing. Again, we're specialists in this, so it's really a refined process. And then in the outcome, this is again up to $26,000. We just wrote for a company with over 100 employees. Take that times 26. They got the max. That's a lot of money. So basically, ERC takes 10%. Well, let me change that. Ultimately, if you do nothing other than go through the process, ERC will get the check from the IRS, take their 15%, and then send you the rest of this stimulus money. Now, there is another piece of this. If you decided, well, you know what, I want an additional 5%, well, then you could pay ERC those funds up, their piece of this up front, and you could get save an additional 5%. But most people are opting for, you know what, this is great, this is found money, this is money I hadn't expected. Just send it to ERC, take your 15, send it on to me. I'm going to be happy. So it's you have a choice, and those are the two.
And is there a refund option?
Tell me more about what you mean by refund.
Well, what if things don't go through or it just takes so long? Because how long does it take?
That is kind of a little bit of the fly in the ointment, but still a good one, in the fact that the IRS is, of course, we all know, a bit behind schedule. And so it can, once it's filed through, and it can take 2 weeks or so inside with ERC to get all of the due diligence done, get that 180 pages finished, and then they submit it, and it can go anywhere from 4 to 5 months typically before the government refunds that money to ERC and ultimately to you. And ERC, once they receive the funds, they then pay it within, it's on every Friday, but they pay it within a week. So it's not like there's any kind of additional period of time, grace period that they're taking. No, it's as fast and as quick as possible that you get your money.
Okay, so IRS. Let's say I'm actually receiving more of a credit, a higher credit from ERC than what I am actually paying in taxes. Does that have any bearings?
Well, it does. And just be very clear that this is payroll oriented versus your taxes, which is income oriented. And the two don't really necessarily matter, except, and let me just say this, and I'll be very straight up about this. I have yet to run into this, but I have heard some others that have faced this, and that is they got money for a client. The client actually owed income tax, let's say $20,000, and they were getting $100,000 back on the ERC program. Well, guess what the IRS is going to do? They're going to take that 20 out of the credit, the tax credit for ERC. They're going to subtract that out, and the ultimate net will be $80,000. So yes, if you do owe the IRS money, they will probably use the ERC funds to satisfy that.
Okay, so if I'm self-employed and I own more than 51% or greater of my company, I would not qualify. But what about franchisee owners? Would they qualify?
Absolutely. Franchisee owners, it doesn't make a difference because they are business owners. And again, that 50% or less or 50% or more still applies. And at the same time, it could be franchisees, it could be schools, it could be nonprofits, it could be the hairdresser down the way. It is all types and kinds and market segments of business in this country. It doesn't matter as long as, again, you've got the qualifying number of W-2 employees. And by the way, I might just share this. Sometimes if you've got a lot of part-timers, well, then when we talk in that 40-minute session, we'll take the number of part-timers, put them into the algorithm that's on the website, and that will factor into your ultimate your qualified revenue number or your stimulus number. And there is something, it's basically an equivalent. And if you've got part-timers, don't worry about it. Let's put it in and see how it factors out. Because that could add actually 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 more employees based on those part-timers.
Okay, and so I'm assuming independent contractors would not qualify because they're not W-2 employees, correct?
Correct. Yeah. It just is. It's not the way the rules are written. So yeah, that's absolutely true.
Okay. So walk me through kind of from very beginning to when I'd actually receive the monies. Can you walk me through how long it's going to take?
Yes, absolutely. So at the end of this, if somebody's really interested and wants to look at this, then they'd go to the calendar, they'd sign up, we'd set up a 40-minute review session. That can happen as quickly as possible. Once we get that and see, number one, are you qualified? Two, we'll actually see how much money you're qualified for. Then ultimately, that information is sent up to a company called ERC Specialists, and they take somewhere between 2.5 weeks to do the due diligence, to fill out that, I mentioned it, 180 pages of information. You'll need to upload to them in their portal things like 941s. You'll need quarter by quarter revenue numbers so that they can validate that. They might ask you about some of the supply chain interruption issues. Most of the time, I haven't heard many people being asked about that. So once they get done, then that information then goes on to the Department of Treasury, I think it is, or IRS. I'm not sure which one of them is on the receiving end, but either way, it goes into the government system. And then that's where it can take anywhere from 4 to 5 months in order to get processed through. Then it goes to back to ERC, and less than a week from receipt by ERC, they send you the check. So it could be anywhere from, again, 4, and maybe even on the outside, again, with that 1 week delay, it could be 6 months. But again, this is all free money, money that you don't have to repay, and it's found.
Right. Okay. So how do they get started with you? Where do they need to go, Mark?
Basically, they would come to a website. May I show it here?
Sure.
Great, here it is. Somebody, if you're watching this, anybody in the audience is watching this, you can scan that QR code. It will take you to the calendar, or you can go to a simple way to remember this is leadershipIsAplayground.com. That will then, it'll show, hey, up to $26,000 due small to medium-sized businesses. Click on that, and it'll take you to the calendar as well. So this is where you'd go. And again, I urge you, sooner the better. There's no risk. And we're not charging you to go through this 40 minutes. It is purely an opportunity to see if you qualify for the ERC stimulus program.
That's fantastic, Mark. I mean, honestly, it's found money. It doesn't really take you that long to apply for it. And why would you not? I mean, if you've got employees, I absolutely would be taking advantage of it because someone's going to, right?
Oh, absolutely. The money is going to go, Michelle. And until it's gone, we're out here doing our best trying to help, support, and advocate for small to medium-sized businesses. So, yeah, there's nothing to lose, not at all. And this is not anything that, again, the government's going to come back and try to claw back from you. It is there. And once it's let, and by the way, if something were to happen, then, if you did pay that in that program in advance, well, it's guaranteed. You will get your money back. There will be refunds. Nothing is at risk here. It is government backed.
Okay. So I've known you for a long time, and you've been working with small to medium-sized companies for a long time. How did you come up with your mission for what you stand for in regards to assisting small to medium-sized business, so that our members can get to know you a little bit too, Mark, and know what just a great individual you are?
Michelle, thank you. I appreciate that. And yes, we have. We've definitely been around for a while together. I've been kicking around in the organizational change, consulting, coaching, and training business for about 34 years. And, over time, especially with the growth of the millennial generation, things are changing. So we've really kind of evolved to, hey, there's a lot of people, and you saw it. Yes, we saw that at some point when COVID hit, there was the Great Resignation. And I think that really is a reaction to what we've seen for over 40 years, and that is disengagement numbers in most organizations, whether small, big, or Fortune 100. And so people want to go out and they want to do things that matter. They want to do things that, yeah, they get to be their own boss because maybe they're not happy where they are. So, Michelle, as you know, we've really taken this on not only as development of great leaders, but also to understand the workforce now. It's changed, it's shifted. What drives and motivates the workforce, it's all about, as a human being, can we be collaborative, can we win, can we be out there helping the community at large? That's a lot of what the value system for millennials is about, and that is amazingly cool, especially as we think about the next 20 and 30 years. So that's our goal, is to help those small and medium sized businesses build leaders and really start to understand their workforce.
Well, all the people I know, you definitely understand that better than anyone. So I hope people take advantage of this and they get to know you and take advantage of the ERC. Mark, thank you for being with us today. This is great information, and we're going to be pushing this out to all of our members. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Michelle, and thank you to everybody that is watching. I appreciate your support and help. Thank you.
All right. Okay, for all of those that listened, wow, go take advantage of that. ERC, it's money just sitting there waiting for you to send in your form and apply for it. So until next week, stay safe and